All right. I have to bend down, but I'm Cody, and this is my snare teaching lesson. This is my friend Chris.
Hi.
Have you ever played drums before, Chris?
I have not.
What do you play?
I play saxophone.
That's awesome. And so Chris is going to learn. Here's my my student learning goals. Student learning objectives, SLOs. Okay. Chris will learn by the end of this lesson how to hold the sticks, how to stand with correct posture at the snare drum, how to determine whether or not the snare drum's at a good height, and then in addition to the basic single stroke, playing area, velocity, and the essentials of good tone production on snare drum, conscious snare drum. Okay? All right, Chris. So very first step is we're going to learn how to hold drumsticks.
Okay.
So with this, the ones you're using, the Ted Cat's signatures, which is actually our percussion instructor for CSULB. He has his own line of sticks, and it's awesome. You'll notice about this company, Vic Firth, on this pair of sticks, they have these awesome American flags that are actually helpful guide points for you where to put your thumbs are.
Okay.
So the way that people typically hold the sticks is they just hold it like turkey legs at the state county fair.
Yeah.
And so, but this sucks because ideally sticks should actually be able to do this. This is called a fulcrum. Basically, it's similar to holding a pencil in a way, but upside down. And what it's really is it's the first knuckle of your finger behind one side of the stick and then the flat part of your thumb. And you'll notice when you hold it like this and then let the fingers wrap lightly around the back end of the stick, not too tightly. We don't want no county fair chicken leg.
Turkey leg. No
turkey leg. That's not what we want, because you need this motion for things like drum rolls. That's actually how that works. It's physically impossible if you hold them like this. So have a fulcrum. What's the word?
Fulcrum.
Fulcrum. Awesome. So I'm going to allow you to demonstrate while keeping your attempts within sight of the camera, if you can help it.
That's that. Kind of like this.
Yeah. The back fingers ideally should be kind of wrapped around the back lightly. Loosely. Very good. And the one thing I really forgot to mention is that your palms should be flat with the floor. And so if you ever look at mine, my palms are flat with the floor. We've got this fulcrum occurring at about, if you want to be mathematical about it, they say that you should have your fulcrum at about 1/3 of the stick. But the American flag, I mean, you have freedom to move up and down if you feel like it gives you, because the goal is the control of the stick.
Yes.
But the American flag on the Vic Firth Ted Cat's signatures is a good spot. It's a good spot to start. And in general, when you have palms facing the floor, and then the general thing we want to remember about the sticks themselves, we'll go into some stick anatomy now. So this is the bead of the stick, say bead.
Bead.
And so this is connected to the shoulder of the stick, this little part that slopes.
Okay.
And then as you imagine, the rest of this stick is just the stick, or the shaft, if you want to be more specific. And then the ends of the stick are the butt. And so starting at the butt, you grab the stick with your fulcrum.
Yes.
It's facing the floor. And with playing the concert snare drum, you always want to lead with the bead. So what this means is if you're using any, I don't even know if it's truly possible, but the bead is obviously where you want to strike with.
Yes.
And when we hit when we go to actually do a basic stroke on the snare drum, we want to lead with the wrist. Watch very carefully how I do this. So the drum is kind of like a trampoline. You get a natural bounce. And so allow that bounce to help you. But the thing is that whenever you're hitting a drum in a lot of percussion instruments, you want to pull the sound out. So really getting good tone isn't about how you hit it, it's so much how you pull off of it. Watch the difference between if I just let it sit here versus if I pull back in a timely manner.
Okay.
Bad example. So obviously it bounces, and so that's a technique you might use, or a fact you might exploit. But this is also bad, where So
Okay.
if you strong arm it and you don't allow it to bounce off, if you try to do it like manually, like that's all right. I mean, that's a strong hit, but most of the time you want to be able to play light so you can play many notes at once.
Yes.
So the way I do it is flick of the wrist and then allow the bounce to help you, and then draw the sound out. Draw the sound out with the snare drum. Just try. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Good. So keep your palms facing flat with the floor, and you've got this hinge motion. This is where hitting goes. So give that a go. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Good. Let me check on your fulcrum. Are you
Yes.
able to go like this? Let's see how loose it's got. Yeah, so really it's almost like I imagine the fulcrum is it's more tense than it should be at the back of the sticks. And so, yeah. And so the important thing is remembering that hinge motion in the wrists. Go ahead and give it another go.
All right.
Yeah. So your palms aren't quite facing the floor, I don't think. So just try to turn them out a little bit. Yeah. And yeah, good. So I'm noticing you've got some more control of the stick as well, because I noticed before you would hit it and you had a nice you're not grabbing with the other sticks, but the use of the back of the sticks is to help stabilize the stick.
Okay.
In a way. So because we want to be able to, ideally, most of the time, we're trying to return to the same spot. So the more we're able to kind of be consistent in how much we play, the more complicated repertoire we'll learn along the way. And so keeping those standards in mind, let's do a common exercise that is called 8 on a hand. And before we get to that, let's learn last major important part of the snare drum and how it works. So there are lots of variables that affect a drum sound. You can have the shell is a factor. This is wood. You can have snare drums that have metal on the outside. That's typically what you see on like drum sets. Concert snare drum typically has like a hickory or a birch shell. And then there's the drum head, of course, is a thing you can manipulate. The sticks could alter the sound. And there's a lot of, but on the player side, really what controls sound and tone quality the most is playing area and velocity. So how fast, or the distance and the speed at which you hit the drum. So a big thing is when you're trying to attempt to not play loud, there's this thing called feather tapping, and this is something you want to avoid, where it's the distance is so little that you can't get a good sound out of it. It's okay dynamic, but you're not getting the tone that you want. When you're hitting the snare drum, you'll notice that it's called a snare drum because there's these little things called snares on the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, you can touch them and feel them there. Go ahead and touch them. And so those are snares, and when you turn it off, this turns basically into just kind of a dinky sounding drum. Let's see what that sounds like for a little bit. So it just sounds like a tubby weird thing, but now this is a snare drum.
Yeah.
So when you turn the off lever or the snare lever on the side, it brings the snares up to where it touches the bottom, and when you hit the drum, the bottom shell, there's another shell on the other side of the drum, it vibrates those snares you felt earlier, and so that's what gives you that kind of crisp, punchy sound. And then when we're playing, the reason I'm bringing all that up is where you play on the drum is quite important. So trying to keep, let's see if we can do some discovery learning here for a second.
Okay.
I want you to go in a straight line top to bottom, see where you can find where the loudest is.
Okay.
Yeah, so just try to go straight line, same distance.
So it's in the middle.
In the middle? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is correct. So you're going to get your loudest dynamics here. But for most of the time, for mezzo forte, you want to play on this upper half right here.
Okay.
And as you observe, the tone sucks when you get over here. So this is loud. I mean, most of the time you're not going to need to play this loud. So as a general principle, you want to play over here. Now, how is this height for you, Chris? Do your arms? You're a considerably tall guy, and so it's important. Where's your belt line?
My belt line is probably like right here.
So we want the snare to be kind of close to your belt line,
Oh, really?
or just a little bit underneath it. I'm gonna see if I can adjust this for you.
Yeah, story of my life.
Yeah. No worries. This is why this guy plays bari sax.
Yeah.
So let's adjust the height here. Let's see how you like this better.
Okay.
This might be a little bit too tall, but see, how's that feel? Do you feel?
Good. That feels comfortable.
Yeah. Do you feel like it better than the previous one?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and your arms shouldn't be like fully extended. Obviously, you don't want chicken wings.
Kind of be relaxed.
Yeah. Arms should be relaxed, and then you're playing on the front half of the drum here. And so there we go. And so now that we've got that, let's learn 8 on a hand.
Okay.
So the most basic stroke you can learn on a drum is called single stroke, and so it's what the name implies. You hit it once and you bounce back, pulling the tone out of the drum. Try 8. Try this exercise. I'm gonna model for you. Good. And so another one of the challenges of snare drum is keeping the hands kind of the beats should be mostly in line with each other to get a consistent sound.
Okay.
Because most people have a dominant hand, it's going to sound different. And so one of your journeys as a snare drum player is learning how to kind of create a more consistent sound by strengthening this one at a speed faster than this one. But that's neither here nor there. That's down the road. But to get a consistent sound, we need to make sure it's always at the same height. And when we strike, we return to the same spot. And when we go to strike, try to make it so that you're striking from the same distance you were before.
Okay.
So do that exercise again at a nice slow tempo. I'll count you in.
Okay.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Yeah, and so I think velocity is the speed at which you engage. So if you have a high velocity, high velocity, high distance, and you're playing in the center, that's the absolute loudest you can get out of a snare drum. Now, and then the inverse is true. And so your left hand, I noticed, was a little quiet. And then let's do it 8th notes this time. So bop, 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 left, like that.
Okay.
All right, so same playing area, keeping the palms flat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And I'll stop you real quick. I think you can afford to play here
a little bit. Okay.
Try to draw the tone out.
Okay.
So try to control. There we go. There we go. Yeah, and so you'll notice it's kind of tricky at first getting this to be equal, which I haven't mastered myself either. I don't know if I was going to put it here. So that's kind of the way we would do it. Now, fortunately for me, you are a musician already, and so we do not have to go over the basics of reading notation. What I have for you in front of you is a Whaley etude, etude for snare drum. And so, what are some things you see on the page?
Chord notes, 8th notes, some offbeat patterns coming in on the and then some dynamics.
So sticking is pretty important. And a lot of percussion music, above all of these notes, especially for beginner music, you would see something like right, right, left, right, left.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to teach you one way. So ultimately, as you become a percussionist, you will decide the way you stick things.
Mm-hmm.
But the easiest to get started on, are you right-handed?
Yes.
Yeah, so the way to kind of do it in the beginning is having what's called like right-hand lead. So using right hand on the beginning of like these two groupings of eighth notes. So like, so alternate sticking is where you go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Single sticking is where you use like one hand, right? Alternate sticking would be like, but the right hand leads in that it plays the first note of each grouping.
Okay.
So the way I would stick this first measure is it would go quarter note.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quarter note, 2 and 3 and 4. I would stick it like this: right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And then if you had like 4 quarter notes, you might do right, left, but
Okay.
Try to lead with the right hand.
Okay.
Let's just do the first 2 measures. So I'll count you in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Good. Yeah. Now, let's learn the next 2 measures. So we see that it's piano, right?
Uh-huh.
Based on what I gave you, what's some ways you can make that section piano?
You can lower the stick height, lower the speed I'm hitting, or move kind of towards the edge of the drum.
Yeah. So pick one of those variables. So you're going from forte to piano. You might do 2 of those variables.
Yeah.
But remember the actually, to kind of counteract this like sucky sound that you get when you hit really quietly at the edge, what you could do is imagine the variables I gave you: stick height, velocity, and playing area. Imagine it's like you're adjusting the levels on your car when you're listening to music. So you have the volume on your phone hooked up to Bluetooth, and you have the car. There's like a volume button on your thing, and then maybe the car has like bass treble.
Yeah.
And so those are 3 things you can manipulate, and sometimes you want to turn down one even though you're going to turn one up. Okay. So for really quiet passages, I would actually suggest the center, because you're going to use, assuming you're using a slower or a smaller distance, you're going to get more tone out this way. So
yeah, resonant.
And as you get louder, scoot up more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then increase in velocity. So try the first 4 measures, see if we can get a big difference out of the forte and the piano. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. My snapping was kind of sucky there, but yeah. Right. And so the challenge is let's give that just another go. Yeah. So yeah, and obviously those measures have different rhythms. So it's hard to change the variables and then play the rhythms accurately too. So let's good job on the dynamics. Let's see if you can make it a little bit more noticeable. I would say play with more velocity out here for the forte, and then play right in the center for a piano with less velocity. There we go. See if we can do it. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. There we go. Yeah. Awesome. That was Chris's first snare lesson. Good job, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you.